Welcome to FaithFlix, where we bring Bible stories to life. If you're new here, we dive deep into the Scriptures, shedding light on the known and the unknown, the celebrated and the concealed. In this video, we're pulling back the curtain on some of the most hidden stories in the Bible. These are the accounts that often get glossed over in sermons and Bible studies, but they carry profound meaning and relevance for our lives today. So, grab your Bible, get comfortable, and prepare to be amazed. Today, we're diving into the incredible and dramatic story of Esther, a woman who rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most influential figures in the Jewish history, saving her people from certain destruction. The story of Esther is a powerful reminder of courage, faith, and God's providence, even when His name is never mentioned. The story of Esther begins in the Persian Empire, where the king, Xerxes I, rules over a vast kingdom stretching from India to Ethiopia. This was a time of immense power and prestige, but it was also a time of looming danger for the Jewish people living under Persian rule. Esther, a young Jewish woman, is living in the city of Susa, unaware of the pivotal role she will soon play in the salvation of her people. Xerxes, in his grandeur and pride, throws an extravagant feast lasting 180 days to display his wealth and power. During this lavish celebration, Xerxes commands his queen, Vashti, to appear before him, wearing her royal crown. When she refuses, Xerxes is furious, and Vashti is banished from the palace, leaving the throne empty. The king then orders a search for a new queen from among the most beautiful young women in the empire. In the midst of this search, we meet Esther, a young orphan raised by her cousin Mordecai. Esther, whose Hebrew name was Hadassah, is described as beautiful, wise, and courageous, but also deeply humble. She doesn't yet realize that God has orchestrated her life to be in this very moment of history.
Esther is taken to the palace to participate in the search for a new queen. With grace and wisdom, she earns the favor of Hegai, the eunuch in charge of the women, who gives her special treatment and advice on how to win the king's favor. Despite the pressure of her circumstances, Esther keeps her Jewish identity a secret, following Mordecai's instructions to conceal it for the time being. After an intense beauty competition and a series of preparations, Esther is chosen as queen, surpassing all other women in the king's eyes. However, Esther's rise to power is not just about her beauty, it's about God's timing and providence. She is placed in a position where she will have the opportunity to change the course of history and save her people. But at this moment, Esther doesn't yet know how crucial her new position will become. While Esther enjoys her new role as queen, there's a growing danger in the kingdom. Haman, a high-ranking official in the king's court, is promoted to the highest position of honor, and he demands that everyone bow before him. Mordecai, Esther's cousin, refuses to bow to Haman, citing his loyalty to God. Haman, enraged by Mordecai's defiance, decides not only to punish him, but to destroy all the Jews in the empire. Haman manipulates the king into issuing a decree that on a certain day, all Jews in the empire will be killed. This edict is sealed with the king's signet ring, and it sends shockwaves through the Jewish community. When Mordecai hears of the decree, he is devastated, and he sends a message to Esther urging her to use her position as queen to intercede on behalf of the Jewish people. When Esther learns of Haman's plot, she is faced with a terrifying decision. To approach the king without being summoned could result in her death, as the law strictly prohibited anyone from entering the king's presence uninvited. But Mordecai's words resonate with her. Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Esther wrestles with fear, but she realizes that this may be her one and only chance to save her people. She sends a message to Mordecai, asking all the Jews in Susa to fast for 3 days, and she and her attendants will also fast. Then she will go to the king, even though it could cost her life. In her moment of fear and uncertainty, Esther finds the courage to act. She steps forward in faith, trusting that God's plan is bigger than her own safety. After the 3 days of fasting, Esther goes before the king. When Xerxes sees her, he is pleased and extends the golden scepter, sparing her life. She invites him and Haman to a banquet she has prepared, where she will reveal her request. During the banquet, the king asks her what she desires, promising to give her anything, even half of his kingdom. Instead of revealing the plot immediately, Esther invites the king and Haman to a second banquet, creating suspense and giving herself time to prepare for the moment when she will finally make her bold request. Esther's wisdom in pacing the revelation of the danger her people face shows her remarkable ability to discern the right time to act. At the second banquet, Esther finally reveals her true identity and exposes Haman's evil plot to destroy the Jews. She says to the king, "If I have found favor with you, O king, and if it pleases you, grant me my life and the life of my people, for we have been sold to be destroyed, killed, and annihilated." Xerxes is enraged and demands to know who is responsible for this plot. When Esther points to Haman, the king orders Haman's immediate execution. The very gallows that Haman had prepared for Mordecai are used to hang him instead, marking a dramatic turn of events. Esther's courage and faithfulness to God have turned the tide, and Haman's evil plans are undone. Though Haman is gone, the decree to kill the Jews still stands. However, Xerxes allows Esther and Mordecai to write a new edict, one that grants the Jews the right to defend themselves. On the day that had been set for their destruction, the Jews rise up and successfully defend their lives, turning what could have been a day of tragedy into a day of victory. This victory becomes a permanent celebration for the Jewish people, known as Purim, a time of feasting, joy, and giving to charity. Through Esther's bravery, God used a hidden hero to save his people from destruction. What seemed like a coincidence, an orphan girl becoming queen, was part of God's sovereign plan all along. The story of Esther is not just a tale of royalty, intrigue, and political maneuvering. It's a story of faith, courage, and God's providence. Even when it seems like God is silent, His plan is unfolding. Esther's bravery reminds us that sometimes we are placed in specific positions for a purpose greater than we can imagine. Her willingness to risk everything for the sake of others calls us to examine our own lives. Are we willing to step out in faith, even when it's uncomfortable, and trust that God is working in ways we can't always see? What can we learn from Esther's story? We learn that God is at work even in the moments that seem insignificant, and that He raises up unexpected people to fulfill His purposes. Just like Esther, we are often called to act in the midst of fear, knowing that God's timing is perfect. Esther's courage changed the course of history, and it serves as an example of how our faithfulness can impact the lives of others. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the story of Esther, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who might need a little encouragement today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.